Hey there, I'm Ben. This is Solo Therapy, my substitute for psychotherapy. Initially started due to my therapist growing another human. I've been meaning to write a letter to him. I'll probably follow up in a later session. Ugh. Today's tea of choice is Gyokuro Nakatani, Japanese green tea, 21 days in the shade before it's harvested. Fancy stuff, you know. Also got a snack, but we'll come to that in just a moment. Today's main topic is going to be how I see rules, and particularly the example of speed limits, which has been a recurring subject in the past. You can look at the rest of this stuff at the past, that is, haha, magic, on this channel or in the playlist. There is a playlist on this channel as well, which happens to be the very same playlist. For tea, we want to take 2 spoons, 2 spoon loads, which is about what I got left. Which reminds me, I'll probably also take the next tea baggie out the freezer, which means I'm gonna have to buy tea too soon because that's my last baggie I have in the freezer. Real bad news, you know. Oh no, first world problems. Then again, I now have a job, so I have the purchasing power to actually buy more tea and not worry about the money all that much. It's quite a comfy aspect, I guess. Having a job, though, does not free me of German bureaucracy, even German unemployment bureaucracy. Haha. Smooth transition to the first subject of the night, I guess. I'll get back to the speed limits and so on in a moment, because that's a big topic. Big Pandora's box, one might say. German bureaucracy. I got letters last week, 2 of them, from the same office, dated the same day, requesting the same documents. They might have sent it out twice, but it weren't precisely the same wording, so I reckon they want 2 copies of everything. Which means I spent the past 4 hours preparing all those documents to send in, and I ended up with this hefty batch of paper. This is blank paper for illustrative purposes. There's nothing on it because I don't want to dox myself all that hard, you know. So it's just blank sheets, but it's the same amount of paper. Turns out to be 38 pages. And I've already handed them in more than 50 pages in the past. I don't know what they do with all this paper because, I mean, I'd love to do online, and apparently they support online submissions, but their QR codes are broken. Because if you scan them, you just get to the sign up page, even though you're already signed in. Kind of a bummer, but what do you expect, you know, as professionals? We're in Germany, after all. Fax is a new technology. You might not have heard of it. Use phone lines to send messages, which you can then print out on your end and read. And we'll get to today's snack in just a moment. I have a tool I need for that, though, which is a knife. Any knife would do the job, but this one is very handy for that. It's a lockable knife. It's my lockable knife for the glove compartment in my car, because I like having a penknife, you know. But ever since the latest changes as to weapon regulations in this country, one is not allowed to carry an unlocked knife in one's car. So this is a locking Morakniv companion. Overall, including the lock, it cost less than $20, which I'm really rather proud of, I guess. Funny how that works, you know. And it's a solid knife. I just dropped the lock on my foot. I mean, it's shiny stainless steel and all. This now has some marks here from me trying to punch it and drill through the blade, because I thought, oh, My drills of HSS should be 65 Rockwell, and this stainless is claimed to be between 55 and 58 Rockwell, which means I should be able to drill it. Turns out I was not able to. Perhaps it was the idea of fixturing because it's kind of a shit shape to be holding, or I just didn't have a small enough drill. One of the two, I guess, but who knows. Today's snack of choice for a change is not sweet. We have chorizo sausage for the snack, which is why we need the knife, because we wouldn't want to be uncivilized, you know. To the main topic, speed limits. Well, rule following in general on the example of speed limits. In the past, I've followed speed limits to the dot. Not quite, actually. I did have a personal tolerance, which was 3 kph or 5%, whichever is greater. So within settlements, it was 3 kph. According to satellite GPS, I only have a cheap Chinesium GPS tachometer unit, but still GPS, you know. Still the force of the American military telling me how fast I'm going. I'm not sure if it's my perspective of it, that have changed and my perception, or if it's the reality, but the past tolerance just haven't been cutting it. I've been going more and more with the flow of traffic, and I'm not happy to say this, I'm kind of indifferent to it, but in the past I was proud to following the speed limit, so I guess it's a net loss. I have sped quite a lot in the recent past, even going past a couple of speed traps. One time the plod was standing there measuring people, and now we get to why I think it might be my perception of my speed. They didn't pull me over, the speed traps didn't trigger, but in my mind I was racing like a maniac, and in the past I'd stated for this to be painful for me, and it is. It still is at times, but I feel I've gotten numb to the pain of speed. I don't know, of breaking the speed limits. It's kind of funny how that works, you know. Tea. To the point where I'm significantly faster, though even to the other end of the city, I do not take less time. And I tend to believe the idea of my mind just perceiving the speed differently being at best mental gymnastics, just because in the past I've assumed the GPS tachometer to be true and correct within very tight tolerances. On the speed, that is, not on time. In time it was delayed by a couple of seconds, which I was fully aware of. But considering I didn't trigger the speed traps when I'd driven past them, and I should have according to that, I guess reality might have shifted. One thing is sure, and that is my reality has shifted. Make of it what you will, you know. Obviously now with my job, I'm way more reliant on my license, which means there still is a hard limit, which is according to the car tachometer, I'm not going more than 22 over, because from there on, assuming the car to be correct, which I know it is not, but I got to have some tolerance in there, you know, I'd risk losing my license for a month or so. And I don't think I could live without a license for a month or so, independent of having a job, just for the sake of getting groceries. I mean, I live in a bloody big city with great infrastructure, closest shop's not even 200 metres away from here. But I've never been there, and I wouldn't want to go to a new shop when I'm not even in my comfort moving with a car, you know, so I'm not going there. With the speed limits, it feels, I don't know if this reflects reality, but it feels as if I've given in to peer pressure. For if I drive by myself late at night or so, like back from work and there's no other cars around, I stick to what my current self believes my past self would have stuck to. So it's really only peer pressure that I've given into. I only speed because others do. Cheap excuses and mental gymnastics. I guess that's how that works, you know. But that's the reality I live in. I am still aware of my surroundings at all times, and I do not speed to the degree where I would think it to danger. But this might be part of the slippery slope fallacy, but in my opinion it's just a slippery slope without the fallacy. Because initially I'd 100% stuck to the speed limit, then I introduced the 5% tolerance. Then every once in a while I'd try and see how fast other people were going before it was too painful for me. And now I've reached a point where I just don't care. I'm too numb to it. And to that, I'm actually indifferent. I truly believe that. But in the past, I was proud of my obedience to speed limits, which I can no longer be. It's kind of a difficult one, you know. Don't know what to say about it. I'm definitely not proud of going over the speed limits. That do include on the city highway, on the Stadtautobahn, which is part of the federal highway network, federal Autobahn network, Bundesautobahn. I have started overtaking on the right just because so much of the time the right lane isn't used by people and they're going below the speed limit in the middle or left lane. That I just mosey on by them, which at the speeds of the Stadtautobahn, of the city highway, is almost legal. At times it is legal for a fact, but still don't feel right. And in the past I've established not feel right to mean painful, for the sake of communication and ease of language. Because yes, I speak words and you understand words, but what those words mean are different. So I have come to the agreement in the past, session 109 I believe it was, this should be 192, so quite a while ago, that though not right felt the correct use of words for me, painful was more effective in communicating the actual spirit behind the words. As to what you, people who are not me, hello, thank you very much for watching by the way, would understand. So overtaking on the right is still painful at times. It's almost as if I'm getting numb to it. I guess it's just exposure therapy. I'm not sure I like it. I like following the rules. But it's so bloody hard if people aren't driving on the right as they're supposed to according to the rules. Because if they are, you can safely overtake on the left. But otherwise, they're forcing you to either sit behind them and cause traffic jam together with half the other people who are not overtaken on the right, or you just overtake them. It's kind of a lose-lose situation in my opinion, because the moment a person like that sit there and don't move, you cause a traffic jam, which is more so against the rules than any speed limit violations, or you overtake them on the right, which is arguably worse than speed limit violations. But a traffic jam most certainly is not optimal, because that's like the top rule of the German rules of the road. Basically, first is you shan't endanger others, second is you shan't hinder others. Causing a traffic jam or being part of a cause for a traffic jam most certainly is hindrance to others. It's my piece of bread on it anyways. I'm not a lawyer. Just to be absolutely clear, this is not legal advice. I hope you're an adult. If you're not an adult, ask your parents if you should be watching this. And if you are an adult, you can make up your own opinion. Magic. With work, it's been satisfying. Today I've had a slow day, but the chief was around and I asked a couple of questions and learnt a bit more about the quirks and features of our testing equipment. Because yes, it is legally sound testing equipment, and it is the best there is for efficiency's sake. Efficiency of work to be done per time, not compromising the quality of the work, but it does have some quirks, like it does suffer from some induction, in which case it does give increased resistance values as to your protective earth core of wire, which is not good because those have a cut-off for regular things of above 0.35 ohms. It's no good. But realistically, now that I know about these and that the colleagues have already known about them, they're just things you have to consider and try and reduce if you're getting near the border readings, or just above the border, just above the cut-off, you know. Because you can't fail something because your measuring equipment is not up to par. Joke is there isn't any that is. It's fucking weird, but I guess it's too niche. It's just the way it is, you know. Another topic. This will probably be my last therapy session this year in this position. I might go back to the old school way of doing some in the car. I'm most certainly taking a mic and light with me. But I'll be leaving the city most certainly within 48 hours. And I'll most likely not return within the year. Admittedly, it is, I haven't even done this before. It is 2024, December 20th, a Friday, and the time is 4:01 a.m, which means it is really rather early or really rather late, depending on whom you ask. For me, it's really rather late. Then again, I only got to show up at work at 2, which means I only got to leave my place at noonish for that. Well, 1 for that. But I got to hand in the documents for German bureaucracy. This amount of paper, for which I still got to buy an envelope, and to my understanding, their office closed at like 11:30 on Friday, because you can't be governmental and work till 4. You know, don't work that way. I mean, the end of the day, German efficiency, after all, is workers employed per work to be done, and in that regard, the system is highly efficient. It's just the funny things of life, you know. Efficiency all depends on which metrics you're trying to increase or to maximise. And in the end of the day, workforce employed per work to be done is a metric you can maximise, which is what I've jokingly known as German efficiency for my life. I've been calling German efficiency that for quite a long time now, just because it seems to reflect reality not too badly. As I was on the subject of work, I've been taking more and more things out of my pockets for doing my work, just putting them on my tool cart, testing cart. And today I actually, well, not today, yesterday, but this waking phase, I actually forgot my fingers, my AirPods, which is not too bad because I'm pretty sure I'm going to sleep once I've uploaded this, no problems. But I mustn't forget so later today because I'll only be returning next year. And I kind of need those, you know, magic. Just for life and all. Another matter is indirectly not great. Well, I guess it's generally not great because it never is, but for me it's once removed, one might say, which is my great aunt that died. Really, main thing I can do is support my great uncle, Matt Ernell. There we go, maternal. Great aunt died, and great uncle is now by himself. I think I can say with that generation. Yeah, I think with forgotten generation you can say him, her. Not sure though. You might not be able to. Language is a difficult thing, man. I'm gonna do my best to offer my support for him. But main thing is, I mean, I live the other side of the country, so I'll only be able to offer support while I'm down there, which is at most till the beginning of next year, because 2nd of Jan I got to be here, because I now got responsibilities, because I'm a bloody adult with a job. Magic, you know. There again, by that time I'll also have a paycheck, which is bloody nice. Yeah, it's actually quite good with peace of mind and all. I mean, the lock I'm using for the locked knife, that being through this pinhole in the handle and through this hole in the sheath. I just bought this with purchasing power and didn't think about it twice, because I figured I got a good use for it, I'll buy that. Not knowing how I'd put a hole in the knife, admittedly, because I hadn't tried before then, because I didn't know what size hole I need. And yeah, okay, this only cost a £5, but I got 4 of them directly, just because, hell, I mean, a glove compartment knife might make a pretty good gift. In the end of the day, I'm originally a small town kid. For quite a while I was country folk, and now I'm in big city. And obviously in a big city, not half so many people have a use for knives as tools. People here see them as weapons for some reason. Like they're stupid. Yeah, you can poke your eyes out with this, but you can poke your eyes out with a bloody pen. It's my opinion anyway, for what it's worth, you know. And for example, this chorizo, I would not be able to cut with a pen. And cutting it with a knife is not a bloody weapon, it's a bloody tool. I mean, come on. Then again, I also see the point of people utilise things as weapons, so they're forbidden. Then again, in this city, 8 years ago, pretty much on the spot, I think, plus minus a few days, a lorry ran into a crowd of people. Lorries are still on the roads. Admittedly, in that one place where that have happened, they've put anti-vehicle barriers, but only in that one place, so all the rest of the city's not secure. Don't got to understand, just got to accept it. But in the end of the day, that basically shows, just because people abuse tools to harm others does not mean you have to take tools from everyone. But with the way media have been going, with being more and more polarizing, because it managed to get reader and viewer attention, which is how you sell adverts, which is how you make money. I understand why media go on things like this, because people care for the polarizing news. They want the bad news. In the end of the day, it's a sad product of capitalism. Might be a bit crass of a statement, but if we only cared about the truth in news and media, there'd be quite a lot of things different in my book, at least. Then again, we all have our own truths. For me, I'm speeding like a maniac. For this professional driver behind me, I'm being a slowpoke because I'm only speeding 6, 7 over, maybe 10. They want to go 30 over, you know. But they can't because I'm in front of them. And I'm the dick in that situation because, I mean, they're the professional driver. In my opinion, they should know to drive better than I can. But I'm not so sure of that, since in this city they appear to be quite horrendous at driving, considering they're doing it professionally. Then again, I believe they should still be, and perhaps are, held to a higher standard because they're doing it professionally. So, then again, I don't know how close to reality that is. I might just be completely detached, which is slightly concerning, to be fair. That is from the objective reality, not my reality, because in my reality, professional drivers are held to a higher standard. But also, with motorway construction also, where the left lane is only 2m10 vehicles, I should not see Plod or the military overtake me in the same vehicle as I have, because that vehicle, I know for a fact, is wider than 2m10 centimeters, which means they are not allowed in that lane. In the end of the day, they should have an exemplary function. In my opinion, they do. They should lead as good examples. In reality, they don't care. They sold their brooms, which is a German language joke because broom is a Besen, and you use it to do the activity of kehren, swiping or brooming. So it's just a language pun, in case you missed it, because explaining puns makes them so much better. And because I'm autistic, I don't get sarcasm. And the amount of non-autistic people I've told that to and who haven't gotten the sarcasm have been astonishing. Particularly considering they aren't autistic, so they should get sarcasm. Oh well, you know. It's just kind of oddly amusing. By the way, I've been cutting away at this chorizo for quite a while and it hasn't really decreased in size, just because this knife, this Morak Knife Companion, Sweden steel, though it is stainless, it's bloody sharp, man. So you can cut paper thin slices of just about anything. Well, not literally paper thin, but, you know, translucent. Considering it is an opaque material, that's pretty solid. There's a mixture of opaque and translucent material, and if you're thin enough, it's even transparent. Because fat films are transparent, and that's, in the end of the day, half of what that is. You know. Today I actually went to work for the first time in a long time dressed in a t-shirt, because both my shirts went in the laundry. Currently all my backup pants are on the laundry because I'm preparing to leave the land, which is a region of Germany, one of 16 states or regions. But in European English, they're translated as Länder, and one is a land, because that's a German term. You do not translate those because they depend on which country you're in, apparently, which is why Canada have provinces and the US of A have states. You know, magic. Switzerland have cantons. You just don't translate it. So I'm getting ready to leave the land, which means my pants are in the laundry, but I haven't actually continued it. I paused it earlier because it was on the spinny cycle, and it was making too much noise for the time of day. I don't want to get annoying to my neighbours, be annoying, be a nuisance. And at the end of the day, that requires not making a load of noise in the middle of the night, not causing ruckus, you know. So, what it's worth, I've done it for maintaining solid relationships with my neighbours as much as possible anyways. A while ago I tried picking up a parcel just before 10 p.m. 10 p.m. is official quiet time in Germany. The lights were on at the neighbours that had the parcel for me. Yet the guy seemed really rather unhappy I rang the doorbell. I mean, I don't know why. Lights were on and it was not quiet hours, but I do understand they got family and all, and they got to go in the morning, bring a daughter to school. Then again, their kid go to school not even half a K away, and they hop in the car to go there. I mean, it's kind of a sad witness to the reality we live in. I can't even fault them for it. Because the way some people drive, even though I am now speeding, I am not a speeding maniac. I now speed, not as a maniac. Plenty of people speed as maniacs. So around here, there's a 30 kph limit because of residential area, all the way to the school. But it feels like, and it has always felt like in the past I've done sessions just outside here. If you look through the archive, you might be able to hear me say, I'm in the car in front of home also. People speed like maniacs here. I'm talking about they're not doing 34, 36 kph carefully. Some people are doing like 50 kph carefree. Oh, that carefully and carefree. Fuck, that's a good one for lines, man. Poetry. Tuesday this week I did actually cross the border, go to Poland, which reminds me I actually got another snack. I got a sweet snack, you know, got to have that. How else can I keep my solid figure? Ha ha. The other snack I got is, I don't know how to pronounce this, it's Polish, but it's raspberry fudge. Is what I'd call it anyways. It's raspberry flavoured and it's fudge, so it's really solid stuff. This one's even creamy on the inside. Most I've had so far were fully caramelised. I think the chorizo might not be the best choice for having with tea. It's kind of overstimulating my taste buds, so I'm not appreciating the tea as much as I might otherwise. And I just burnt my little finger because I was carefree with pouring out hot water. It's not hot, it's only 80 degrees centigrade or so, but still more than 40, which is where proteins denaturalise, our human proteins that is, which means it's painful. Not because they naturalise, but to prevent such denaturalisation, because that means things stop working, because they're being boiled. Solid fudge. With the time I'm away from here, I had originally just planned to do the regular festive season with the family and fix a wire in the car. Now has gone to look after my great uncle, but I will still have to do the car, because otherwise the government will come after me and will want to shut down the car, which I can't afford, because I mean I only got one other, but that's not on the road. I only got one other car. Oh no, first world problems. Sadly, it's not comparable in utility or comfort. Comfort it might be, but utility is definitely not. I mean, only weigh half, but you can't fit quarter the amount of stuff in it. And I like stuffing things because it enables you to do things. Ooh, this reminds me of another thing. I'm always split about talking about these things, even if it's just for the sake of not wanting to rub one's own back, I guess. But I reckon one might as well talk about it, because at the end of the day, if it will inspire one person, it's worth talking about it. Day before yesterday, Wednesday night, Film Club had the end of year screening. I spent a significant amount of time outside because quite some of the films were hyper stimulating for me, orally, that is. Turns out it was not just me. I asked an audio person after. Good friend of mine, a friend of mine at least. Person inflation, good friend. Fuck it. And I was in fact correct with the errors. It's just others weren't as fussed about them as I was. But a guy approached us. What would have been in the past, I don't know what the current politically correct term is, so excuse my French, been known as a bum with some clothes to sell. He actually did say though, oh, I just need it for food. Me having a job and all these days, figured, fuck it, I'm gonna go buy this guy a kebab. So I did. You too can do that if you have a job. I mean, at the end of the day, it was less than an hour's wages for me, and I have fun doing work, so it's worth it, you know. The guy was happy, though he would have preferred money, understandably so. Apparently, he do look after another guy, but he also understood why I didn't feel comfortable giving money, because at the end of the day, it's two people who don't know one another. If one gives the other money, they can do with it as they please. Not really great, considering there's a lot of things people can please that are not food. So, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tenner. It's not the world, guys. I mean, kind of feel guilty saying this, but for the end of year screening with Film Club, I didn't spend a tenner on popcorn, man. So, you know, could be worse. And again, I am being too liberal with my money. My future self is not going to like me for it. Then again, that's future Ben's problem. Past Ben was amazing. Besides, when he didn't look out for me, present Ben, his future Ben, but that's when he's been a dick. But there's nothing you can do about it to change it now, you know, because past Ben is dead, and future Ben is yet to be. Future Ben will always be yet to be. So don't do today what you can push off till tomorrow. Actually, that might not be a good moral of the story. Try and make life easier for the next guy, because odds are the next guy's you. Because at one point in time, future Ben will cease to exist, or at least a particular future Ben will cease to exist, and will become present me Ben. Before evolving further into a past Ben, assuming time is linear and all, which we can see as a given. Past Ben ends up being a dick a lot of the time, but future Ben can do a lot of things for me, man. If I don't feel like doing something, future Ben's problems. Future Ben is amazing, past Ben's a bloody dick. Funny how that works, you know. Past and future selves. Just to be absolutely clear, because I think my laughter might have been suspicious, I might be overcomplicating things again. I'll get back to overcomplicating things in a moment. I am stone cold sober besides the caffeine from the tea. No alcohol, no substances, no whatsoever. Me over-analysing things is another thing I want to get to. A colleague had shared their new car recently, well, shown it off after work, because why not, you know. You step outside together, and there it was, a pretty Beamer, and I'd asked them for the history of the vehicle, just because I noticed it went quite new. Got a couple of years on the clock, you know, 50, 60 grand, maybe 80 grand on the clock. As in 1,000 kilometers, grand. Grand can be a lot of things. After the fact, I spent the entire night thinking if that might have been a bit tactless, me asking them about the history of their new car. And next day I decided I'd apologise to them, and turns out I was just way overthinking things. They weren't fussed about it at all. And again, I don't know what social norms are. I mean, the ones I've come across I can know, but very rarely have I known someone to get a new, fairly newish car. Most of the people I know, new cars are new used cars. I guess I know some people with new cars, but they then get new cars, not newish new cars. I guess my car theoretically was a newish new car. I mean, okay, yeah, it was what, 6 years old when Dad got it. Is now 12 years old. So it's been in the family for half its life. And ironically, it's only been in my possession for 3 years. But in those 3 years, I've put half the kilometres on it that it's got on the clock now. Which is kind of funny, you know. I've had it quarter its life, and the square root of a quarter is a half. And that's how long it's been in the family and how much mileage I've done on it. Poetic. With work, I'm really happy about having sorted out all the stuff. I got the theory understanding. There's some practical things, like, for example, with copying machines, you don't want to turn them on just to test them, because parts can move and you don't want them to get stuck, like a toner head in homing or so, and finding its home. Indexing, I guess what one might call it. So you don't want to start those up when you actually test them for things such as protective earth, insulation, you know, the basics. So there is a code for that. I knew there was a code for that, but the more experienced colleagues didn't know about the code yet, and they still don't. So when I asked them, they just said, oh yeah, it's the same code as all other things like that. Is a 152, which is PCs, monitors, things that you can turn on, but that do contain somewhat sensitive electronics. So it's 200 milliamps for positive, for protective earth, for measuring continuity on that, measuring resistance, and it's only checking all the insulation with 250 volt. But it is toggling it on and then switching the phase 180 degrees before switching on again. Apparently the right code for copyists, I'm saying this even though it's totally irrelevant to you, I'm just saying it because I'm flexing on my knowledge, you know, is a 144, because that does all that but not turn on the device. So minus the on bit, minus polarity check, just the insulation, protective earth, maybe one or two other things, but I think that's better. Oh yeah, differential. Yeah, differential current it would also do. So making sure the current that go in also go out without turning on, I guess. Which just means you ain't got any leaks in the system. It's actually a fun analogy, but work. So that's a 144. Interesting enough, 153 is very similar to 152, which is how you do monitors, PCs, and so on. But it does have 10 amps for the protective earth continuity resistance measurement. So it's for things with a lot of paint on them or thick coatings, because you need to burn through the coating in the first place. You know, it's just how it is. And I did do a few errors. I've probably done one a day. I've caught myself in them, but they end up costing me like half an hour to 3 hours, which have impacted my productivity quite heavily. By the way, regarding productivity, thank you very much for compromising yours and sticking around to watch me talk or listen to me talk. Truly means the world to me. Thank you very much. In the end of the day, I've only made those mistakes once. None of them were fatal, because that's the basics. I mean, the procedure of testing things makes sure it can't be fatal. I mean, first off, you don't connect anything to power besides your measuring equipment, which in itself should be secure. The only thing it can do is actually blow current protection on the circuit, and that is very hard to do, but I did manage it because it was fast enough to plug in one thing while another thing was running. Apparently that's not good, because you'll blow the current protection. The protective earth current protection. FE. Fehlstrom. I don't know proper English language for this, guys, sorry. I guess it's protective earth off current. There we go. That's about it. That's what you check first. Well, no, that's the only thing the device can do. Which doesn't harm you, it just harms the system, and someone somewhere has to go and flick a switch for there to be power on that circuit again. The object we're currently in have a lot of circuits per room though, so it's only half bad if you do. You shouldn't really, but if it happens, it does. I mean, that's like that anywhere, but anywhere else it might take longer. Here you just take note and report it when you leave the building, or when you enter the next day. It's not too critical as long as all the workstations work, which there is enough circuits for, so you don't got to worry. Magic. You only measure things that are disconnected from power. You start off by making sure protective earth works on the things, assuming they should have one. Then you check the insulation. I mean, it's pretty foolproof, as in the procedure is structured so you are not at harm. I do not plan on getting any electric shocks within my career, however long that may be, because why would I? People can go careers without electric shocks. Then again, there is people who get electric shocks on a second day. One might blame their supervisors for it. I believe my supervisor can trust me in this kind of stuff. And I hope they have enough judgment in me to be able to tell whether they can do that or not. It appears so, but I'm not sure. One thing's for sure is because these tests I do are required by law to have done, not by me, but by someone. I don't got to worry about a job for any of the near future. My work's cut out for the next half year already, and that's specific, as in building specific, company specific, where I am. Chief's currently doing the schedule. Actually, currently he's not doing it because he did go home for first time in a while. Work-life balance and all. Being head of a company and technical officer and all the officers in one person is taxing on life, but that's what you get for building something. Well, what it takes to build something. Then again, it's fair enough. I mean, it's also their hobby, and I can't fault them for it. I get why. I mean, in the end of the day, the reason they're doing their own company and I'm part of that company is because they care to do things correctly. We make sure cables and wires are right as well. Because yay, it can be amazing if this computer is perfectly fine electrically, but if you plug in a shit wire with no protective earth, the computer's not going to have protective earth. You can touch the housing and get a shock. And that shock can be fatal, or it could cause a fire, if it's not causing you a shock, but the environment. So, you know, I believe they're doing it for the right reasons. I am very comfortable there. I'm still learning a lot, but I manage. It's actually pretty solid. I like it. And I'm under the impression that all my colleagues truly do like it too. Which is something I haven't had at any prior work experience. I mean, when I say work experience, realistically it's internships, just because This is my first proper job. I've switched health insurance providers. From the family health insurance plan I've been on since birth with my mum to my own health insurance, which do actually take a not insignificant amount of my paycheck, I guess. Also, it cost my employer quite some on top because half, we both each pay half for it. That's just the way it's handled here with employment in this country. I certainly don't mind, but the minimum I cost my employer is about 250% of what I end up getting in my pocket at the end of the day. That being tax on their end, contributions to insurances on their end, and on my end. That's 3 out of 5 bits gone. And that's without things such as company insurance or they themselves, because, surprise, facilitating a company means they're spending a lot of time facilitating all the stuff, making sure we have jobs lined up and so on, figuring out when we have the jobs lined up and how, to the point where they aren't doing too much testing themselves, so they would like to do more. I also understand and respect their choice of wanting to build a company and have the infrastructure, because that gives you benefits of scaling, which understandably so. Fully respect that choice, but that means the productive colleagues, which I am not a part of yet, I'm happy if by the end of January I've worked enough to pay my January, excluding December. But at the end of the day, the colleagues that are onboarded fully end up paying for the chief as well, because the chief's facilitating it all. And currently they're paying for me. For most of my paycheck anyways. It's kind of funny how that works, you know. But that's the trade-off of employment. I get a steady paycheck. If I fall ill, someone rams me with Berlin AMG while I drive to some deployment for work. Don't matter to me, well, besides the fact that it's my life and all, but paycheck wise, I don't got to worry. I've got a paycheck coming at the end of the month no matter what. I mean, for that, I am very happy to compromise some of the profits in the end of the day, fruits of my labour once I am fully onboarded, because it takes so much bureaucracy off my hands that I am fully willing to. I'm perfectly happy doing this job for at least mid-term, at least many years, maybe some decades, which is very adult, I guess. Only problem is I've run out of number letter combinations. I've done adulting with a 9 at the end, which means I've now done 9 sessions within the adult universe, which means I can't do that again unless I start over. Of the Fast Too Furious naming convention scheme, I guess. It's just fun with words, you know. You know, fun with flags. It's fun with words, even better. Because you have a more limited set of characters, at least if you stick to the English language. And with flags, you can use anything. Hell, you can have cantons, you can have stripes, you can have triangles. And that's just the beginning. You can have stars. You can have triangles. With words, it's just either sounds phonetically, in which case you've got to do the IPA, which I'm not fluent in. Not Indian Pale Ale, International Pronunciation Alphabet. Or you just do it with Latin characters, in which case you can get away with as little as 22, 23. Magic, you know. I am somewhat looking forward to the cruise. The multi-annual migration. as I've called in the past, and I probably will again this time. Then again, I might not do video. We'll see. Hell, I might be fit enough Saturday night when I leave here. So, tomorrow night, approximately 36 hours from now, I then got to stop. But I'll be open for stopping, and if I feel any tired whatsoever, or if traffic's just bad, I'll just pull over. I got time till Monday morning till I got to arrive. Realistically, I'm going to arrive Sunday morning, either very early or very late Saturday night, depending on how you want to see it. I'll probably arrive before the time for recording. So within 48 hours, I'll be down south. Magic. And I reckon that's going to be a fun one. I'll just steady cruise. I did go and tank Tuesday. Oh yeah, that's how I got to the second snack earlier. Raspberry fudge. I did go Poland by myself. Usually I go with friends. One friend commonly and a lot of friends on the on and off. I only have 3.5 seats, well 2.5 seats in the car. I take one seat, so usually it's one friend. This time I went by myself, again, first time in a long time. And on my way back I was reminded that I really need to figure out my anxiety in dealing with plot I don't know, or more generalised, people in positions of authority I do not have control over when or how I engage with. Just because the only reason I got off this time is because the plot was tolerant, because they lowered their stop thing, but they lowered it late enough in my passing that I wasn't sure it was for me. Just in case I did slow down, it turns out it was for me, but it could have just well been for the car behind me, because by the time they had it lowered, I was on one level with it, which means it wasn't even pointed toward me. They were a senior cop with some vintage, of a certain vintage, and in the end of the day, they dealt with it respectfully. In the past, I've had one or the odd arsehole cop who were just prevented from discriminating against me for being autistic without knowing it, by their usually opposed sex to the most common sex in policing, colleagues. So, yay, I guess. Yeah, but I got to figure out how to deal with unknown variables at unknown times of positions of authority in my life. Just because, I mean, if it's known times, if I'm going somewhere to report something, to talk to someone, hell, even an interview or so, I can prepare for it. That's not the problem. If I'm in control, it's not a problem anyways, because I'm in control. If I'm not in control and I don't get to choose the engagement, it's kind of nah. One might argue, oh, but you got to choose by choosing when you cross the border. But yeah, I kind of had to go to work because I kind of went before work. Interestingly enough, let me just get up, because it's a video format after all, I might as well demonstrate. In Poland, I also got myself some fancy stuff. Well, not so fancy, that's the nice thing about it. It's only somewhat fancy, so I don't feel guilty drinking some of it every now and then. Some Bushmills Irish whiskey, which I originally only liked because of The Eagle Has Landed by Jack Higgins. Don't quote me on that. An IRA man in that Irish Real Army. I know that wasn't an Irish accent. Drunk bottles of Bushmills a night, and that's how literature got me to appreciate an Irish whiskey. And that E was intentionally emphasised, you know, for language fun. Thank you very much for sticking around, watching me talk, listening to me talk, whatever you do. Truly means something to me. I'm really quite happy I'm able to find the joy in small things such as words, such as repetitive or competitive, magical words. I hope you too find beauty in some things. Hope you have a nice day, nice night, sweet dreams, whatever time you're watching this, whatever is the right occasion, the right statement to hope for you to have language. Stay safe, I'll see you around. Cheerio.